Infidelity, an act that has existed throughout human history. But who was the first to cheat? And why has it remained a part of our stories for thousands of years? Let's take a look at the first well-documented case of infidelity in history. The story of King David and Bathsheba, a story of power, betrayal, and consequences. To understand the weight of this story, we need to go back to the time of the ancient Israelites, around 1000 BCE. King David, one of the most revered figures in biblical history, was at the height of his power. He had conquered Jerusalem and made it the capital of his kingdom. But with great power came great temptation. David was a warrior king, known for his strength in battle and his deep faith. He had been anointed by God, chosen to lead, yet behind his victories and his leadership, a hidden temptation lurked. One day, while the rest of his army was at war, David stayed behind in his palace. It was from this elevated position of power that David first saw Bathsheba, the wife of one of his most loyal soldiers, Uriah. Bathsheba was beautiful, and when David saw her, he was captivated. The king, in his moment of idleness, could have chosen differently, but instead he sent for her. They met, and soon Bathsheba was pregnant. David's life, once secure and full of divine favor, began to unravel. In the moment of passion, he didn't consider the consequences, and Bathsheba, for her part, could not have known how dangerous this encounter would become. Now David faced a terrible decision. Bathsheba was pregnant, and her husband Uriah was far away on the battlefield. To conceal the affair, David tried to bring Uriah home, hoping he would sleep with his wife and think the child was his. But Uriah, loyal to the end, refused to return home and enjoy a night of rest with his wife while his comrades were fighting for their lives. This created a problem for David. He couldn't let his secret remain exposed. So David made the ultimate decision. He sent Uriah back to the front lines with a letter sealed with the king's seal. The letter carried a death sentence. David instructed that Uriah be placed in the most dangerous part of the battle, where he would be killed. Uriah died, and David, now thinking his secret was safe, took Bathsheba as his wife. But the consequences of his actions were only just beginning. What David didn't know was that his actions had not gone unnoticed. God sent the prophet Nathan to confront David. Nathan told a parable about a rich man who stole a poor man's only lamb, using it to show David the gravity of his sin. When Nathan revealed that the rich man was David himself, the king was struck with guilt. His actions had hurt the very people he was meant to protect. Nathan condemned David, telling him that his child with Bathsheba would die as a punishment for his sins. David repented, acknowledging his sin before God, yet the consequences were inevitable. Bathsheba's child died shortly after birth, and David's family would face further turmoil because of his actions. But even in this tragedy, there was redemption. Bathsheba would later give birth to Solomon, who would go on to become one of the most famous kings of Israel. David's repentance was sincere, but his actions would never be erased from history. The story of David and Bathsheba isn't just about an affair, it's about the weight of our choices. About how one moment of weakness can unravel a life built on honor and faith. But it also teaches us about the possibility of redemption and how, even after betrayal, there is hope. David's story shows us the complexity of human nature, how great power mixed with human desires can lead to terrible consequences, and how even the mightiest are vulnerable to the mistakes they make. This story of betrayal, guilt, and redemption has resonated through millennia, and it all started with one moment of infidelity, the first well-documented case in history that would shape not only the kingdom of Israel, but also the way we understand the human heart. So the next time you hear about infidelity or betrayal, remember the story of King David, a man who had everything but lost it all for one wrong decision.